I'd like to call to order the September 12th, 2023 special voting meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Adams.
Here.
Dr. Anderson. Here. Mr. Caligiuri.
Here and apologizing to Mr. Mergen and Braden's bus driver for his running up on the bus this morning.
For Braden. Ms. Chudderwick. Here. Mr. Devine.
Here.
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Sokolsky.
Here.
Mrs. Stepnick.
I'm here.
Ms. Wetmore.
Present.
Thank you. The board met in executive session on September 12th, 2023 to discuss matters of litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. The purpose of this special voting meeting is to approve personnel and safe and support of schools motions. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to citizens' comments on special voting and discussion meeting agenda items.
If anybody in the audience would like to make comments at this time on either agenda items, you may step to the podium at this time. You'll be given 5 minutes to speak. Please direct your comments to the presiding officer of the board. Just a reminder, this is a time for comments, suggestions, concerns, as opposed to a question and answer session with the board. Whenever you're finished, we'll just have you step to the clipboard on the edge of the table so that I spell your name correctly in the minutes. If there's anybody at this time, you may step to the podium. Okay, Mr. Devine, back to you.
Thank you. Personnel, Dr. Anderson, lead board liaison. Letter A, recommend approval to accept and resolve the following 1 to 6 as listed.
On behalf of the board, I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes.
Right now, I'd just like to take a moment because we just approved some new administrators to welcome them to the district. First, can I have Mr. Patrick Buckman? Could you please come up or Bachman, please join us at the podium. For the past 9 years, Mr. Bachman has served as the high school principal at Deer Lake School District. During his tenure, Mr. Buckman served as a positive behavior intervention and support core team leader, developed and designed Renew Room space to support students of social emotional learning and create student support group services. He also implemented the National Math and Science Initiative, creating greater opportunities for students to enroll in advanced placement courses, increasing professional development for staff, and increasing rigor in all courses at the high school. I'd like to welcome you as the new principal at Plum Senior High School. Welcome.
Very much excited to be here. Thank all of you for entrusting me in taking over the high school. In due time, we will take all the great things that are currently happening here and improve on the things that we need to do, and this will be a great place for our kids, and our community will be super proud of.
I think your family's more excited.
Next, I'd like to ask Mr. Steven Sarita if he would come up to the podium. Mr. Sarita comes to the Plum Borough School District from Pittsburgh Public Schools, where he served as the principal at Westinghouse Academy, serving students 6 through 12. Mr. Sarita has been an educational leader from the time he started his work as a classroom teacher 18 years ago. In addition to being a teacher, department lead, assistant principal, and he's currently the principal at Westinghouse. Mr. Sarita has served as an academic coach, a regional academic specialist, and academic director for the network of 6 charter schools. Welcome to Plum High School.
I'd just like to thank everybody for this opportunity. I'm a community member. I live in Plum, and this is a dream for me to be able to work and serve kids and families where I live. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Dr. Zarmak, if you would mind coming up to the podium. Dr. Zarmak has 17 years of experience in the Plum Borough School District, serving in the role of a teacher, coach, and administrator. As a father of 4 daughters and a Plum resident, Dr. Zarmak is excited to begin his new leadership role. Dr. Zarmak has served at the Plum Senior High School as an assistant principal for the past 7 years. In addition, he served as a lead administrator for the school counselors as they created the district's Chapter 339 K-12 guidance plan as required by PDE. And I might add that that model was an exemplary model for all school districts in the Commonwealth. Dr. Zarmak also worked with our guidance plan and has served as a lead administrator through the K-12 curriculum review process for the Health and Phys Ed Department. Under his leadership, the K-12 team has revised the courses with a new curriculum and resources, state-of-the-art fitness centers, and created a voice and choice for leading to enhance opportunities for students. As an added note, I would like to share that this morning, as I was looking out the window, I noticed about 30 high schoolers riding their mountain bikes around the campus, which is possible from the work that Dr. Zarmak and that team has done. Interestingly, as I went outside, 2 of those students were learning how to ride a bike for the first time. So, welcome, Dr. Zarmak.
Thank you to the Board of Directors and Central Administration for this opportunity. Couldn't be more proud to be part of the district. Very excited to build upon the foundation at the middle school and continue on with that. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Just on a final note, Dr. Mayberry wasn't able to be with us. Dr. Mayberry will be serving as the interim principal at Plum Middle School and at Plum High School. He has 39 years of service, 24 of those as a teacher. He has served as a middle school and alternative high school principal at A.W. Beatty Career Center, acting high school principal. He's very involved in his community, and recently he also served as an interim principal in the Mars School District at the high school while there was a transition going on in their district. So I am grateful for Dr. Mayberry to work with us over the next few months to ease that transition, to maintain operations at our middle school and our high school. And I'm looking forward to the new additions and moving the district forward. Thank you, Mr. Devine.
Thank you.
Mr. Devine, can I just add, I think, well, we all know a sign of excellent leadership is the ability to manage change well. And I think Dr. Walsh has had his feet to the fire already, just in his own transition. And then to be able to move our leadership to where it is across his own superintendent's team, and then also in building leadership. I just commend you for it, and I'm incredibly thankful for your leadership already, and looking forward to the years to come.
Thank you.
Yep.
If I can add, I was just going to want to say, since the middle of June, it's been an absolute whirlwind. And the changes that have been made, I think, are all very good changes. And with the 3 hires we made tonight, and well, I guess 3.5 if you count acting, in the 4 years I've been here, I have never been more excited for a group of individuals to come in. And not to put you on the spot, but the expectations are very high right now. But I think you guys are up to the challenge. And I'm very excited to see what this district has in the future, both the short-term future and the long-term future. So, welcome, Adam. You're staying here, but welcome to your new role, and to the newcomers. It's a great day to be a Mustang. Safe and supportive school. Letter A, appoint Dr. Ashley Boyers as the school safety and security coordinator.
On behalf of the board, I'll make that recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. All right, we have a discussion meeting right now, Tuesday, September 12th, 2023, here in the library. So this meeting is over. We are not going to adjourn. We're going to roll right into the next meeting. So we will carry over the roll call from the special voting meeting into this discussion meeting. All right.
I'm sorry, did you want roll call with this?
No, we're turning the roll call over. All right. Personnel, Dr. Anderson, Lee Board Liaison, anything for tonight?
I think we did enough tonight.
Student Achievement and Activities, Dr. Anderson, Lee Board Liaison.
Yep, absolutely. We have 7 different grants and donations to accept there. I think important to note is the large one listed in number 1 from the We Are All Here Mustangs Fund, We Are All Mustangs Here Fund, and just continued appreciation for their efforts and support of our students. And that goes without saying, and I think, I don't know about any of the rest of you, but it kind of becomes a common statement that I hear at our fields and with our teams and everything else, just a genuine appreciation for that fund and for the support of our athletes. And then we have 2 through 7, you know, the numbers might not match, but the efforts still continue always from our teachers to have donors choose and different donations to happen to support the work that they're doing in their classes. So do we have 7 to move those forward? 7. So 7. Do we have 5 to move those forward? I got 7 too, okay. Okay, letter B, the annual renewal of the service agreements with Southwood, Step by Step, and Watson. Anything to note, Ms. Sedlock?
Those are annual agreements, Dr. Anderson.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Do we have 5 to move those forward? Okay. Letter C, Dr. Walsh, do you want to share about the PASA
Sure.
Superintendent's Academy?
I think the board is aware that my efforts to make sure that this district is fully engaged with community goes beyond the boundaries of the district. And when this opportunity for a conference, the Superintendent's Academy Conference Series came available, I look at it as an opportunity for me to start networking and for my own professional growth to work with districts not only in Western Pennsylvania, but on the other side of the state. I will tell you, I've already shared with my significant other that during the week of September, I'll see her Tuesday morning and I'll be home late Thursday night during that week because we have a board meeting on the 27th and, the 26th, and the distinguished alumni is the 28th.
Well,
So-
Dr. Walsh, your week doesn't end that bad. Let's
So,
be honest.
But I do look at this as an opportunity not only to network, but for my own professional growth to continue to move the district forward.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? Okay. And then letter D, Dr. Walsh, are we having a presentation on that? Okay.
Ms. Ivan is going to talk about the gifted screener. As many of you are aware, in February in the past, the district offers a screener to our 2nd grade in regards to looking for students that may qualify for additional services. And there's a change in regards to the screener. Ms. Ivan is going to talk a little bit about that this evening.
Good evening. I will keep this very brief. As part of the child find requirement, we have to have a screener. The current screener we're using is called the InView. We've had several challenges with the InView and in looking at what was available. The COGAT, which it might sound like we're pronouncing that wrong, but that is actually correct. It's different from what you would think with the word cognitive. We're proposing that we move forward with use of this screener. Several schools, a lot of schools are using this, including Gateway, Pine Richland, South Park. With the InView, we did have some challenges when they shifted to online in 2021. And some of those challenges were just, there was a lot of manual entry required. It was a lot of work on the district's end when it should be a very simple process. The testing didn't convert nicely to electronic. So there were some questions with just some validity and having to use so much staff to do some manual entries. So in short, we want to propose use of the COGAT. If you flip to the screen where it indicates additional benefits. There you go. There is a nice platform for integration, a few points on equity, and there is a free training that we can utilize for a year that will help support some of our gifted processes. So it's a great year to do that since we're in a curriculum review cycle. So we'll have an opportunity to look at some of those resources and consider use for future. There's a slight difference in cost. It is a little bit less money, but just a few $100s. So,
Less money.
and then the quotes and whatnot are listed there at the end if you had any.
I think Ms. Ivan has indicated that other districts use this instrument for the gifted screener. I have experience as a previous building principal. My experience using this screener was seamless. The data was instantaneous, and we were able to share this information with families. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the recommendation in our cabinet meeting, and I believe it will be an enhancement for how we administer our gifted screeners moving forward.
There is a very nice parent letter that's released after use of the screener too. Right there.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I noticed one of the benefits you listed was under equity, the online audio languages. Is that not something easily done in the other measure?
No.
Okay. That's a simple answer.
Yes,
no. And I'm sure that has presented problems in the past, so.
Yeah. I think we'll find this one much better for our kids.
It's a lot of languages.
It's, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have 5 to move that forward? Okay. I have nothing else.
Thank you. All right, Safe and Supportive Schools, Mr. Adams, Lead Board Liaison, anything for tonight?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Ms. Chudderworth, Lead Board Liaison.
I just have a couple things. First of all, to echo Dr. Anderson, I just want to thank the We Are All Mustangs Here Fund for their generosity, as well as the other generous donuts to help, that help improve the lives of our students month after month. And for the budgetary items 1 through 3, I want you to all take a note of number 3, that it is in draft form. But I am recommending that we do move it forward like we've done a few other times with the insurance that is entirely will be completed by our next action meeting on the 26th. Any questions or discussions?
I know, I had a question for you, and I meant to call you about it, so I'm asking now because it's in front of me, sorry. This new legislation or mandate that came from the state, I'd like to go and talk with it about legislative, but I could put it in 2 bullet points or just now, it doesn't matter. Can we schedule a time to talk? Because I would like to go and give them a year-by-year current enrollment, not what could happen, but current enrollment, K-12.
Mr. Manzer, would you like to touch briefly on that?
We can provide an update to the board on that. We can work with our special ed department as well to provide an update on the finances and the impacts for our students.
Ms. Stepnick, I would mention, and I think you're probably all aware, the School Board Association has come out strongly against the new legislation and the impact that it has on school districts. So there's a lot of conversations going on about this topic and the impact that it has on our local communities. We've done our part. We did our staffing in March. We approved the budget in May, and PDE gave us 2 days to implement an unfunded mandate that is a significant impact to our budget.
Sure.
So there's been ongoing conversations about this, and we will keep the board informed along the way. I know Ms. Ivan has been involved in regards to connecting with families and making sure that we are up to speed with the latest rebuttals to this legislation.
And I think,
I appreciate that. And my thing is, and again, I could talk about it during legislative, but it's more budgetary in a sense, because while they're all fighting it, that's great. But I won't do it until I know what the actual cost is to Plum Borough. And a potential cost, right? I mean, we don't know what we don't know for the future, but what's the potential cost? And I want to be able to lay that out. And I also think it looks more real when I go to people. I mean, our legislators will listen, but I'd like to go to other members that I have relationships with and say, look what you've just done, or PD has just done, and this is now what's going to cost people. And by the way, go ask your districts the breakdown, because I think it's important that we have that.
We can provide you that summary, and we've already done our part as well. I know that PASBA, the school business officials, has already started their lobbying efforts.
Right.
And we're providing anonymous data to them as well.
We'll be doing that in a couple of weeks and I think I can make Harrisburg, because I don't have to leave the country till a day or two later, so I think I might be able to do that.
I just want to clarify for the community that what we're talking about is legislation that moves the graduation age from 21 to 22 for kids who have IEPs in school districts. So the impact that has on a school district can be very significant depending on who stays and what their needs are. So.
And it's not just in Plum Borough. It could
No,
be-
it's.
If you go, that could be another annual tuition for, and it's okay to tell us this, but not with 2 days' notice and budget's already completed. Like that might need to be something with a start date in the future.
The challenge is that free and appropriate for our students and our students.
Sure.
Is if we were given time to implement, we could have secured a free and appropriate education. But being that we were given 2 days before a holiday break and expected to work with outside resources to secure support is a challenge. And it's just not for Plum Borough, it's for all school districts.
And it might be for some of those special schools that already have their staffing in place for the year, and now X number of students coming back, well, they probably welcome them. That's a planning process. So thank you, I appreciate it. Just as soon as I have that, I'll know what I'm doing.
All right, did we already move these forward?
Not yet.
Okay.
Any other discussions? Do we have 5 to move those forward?
That's all for today.
Thank you. Facility and Operations, Mr. Hill, Board Liaison, anything tonight?
I just want to thank all the staff, bus drivers, and everybody that works in these facilities for getting the school ready to go. Looks great. Haven't heard any issues all around, so congrats to everybody that's involved. And thank you.
Thank you. Ford Road, CTC, Mr. Hill, Board Liaison, anything for tonight?
Yeah, 3 things. Last week they held their open house called Past, Present, Future. They invited alumni to come back and speak about their experiences and where they are today. Actually had a parent of a student that graduated in the 80s show up. So, that was a success. I may have a sore throat. And then I want to congratulate Gina O'Toole. She's been appointed the Skills USA Forbes Road Chapter Officer as Treasurer, who's a Plum student. And then lastly, something to look forward to is Forbes has passed, pretty much a straight budget, and they've been kind of told to do that for quite some time. Last year was actually the first one where they increased it. So they do have some capital improvement projects. I don't expect flat budgets to continue. I'm not the finance guy, but, they do have a list of things that they want to address. So just something to look out for in the future, Mr. Manager. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Intergovernmental, myself, Board Liaison, I'll give a formal report later this month, but we just had a meeting tonight before our executive session. Did change things up a little bit. We invited Dr. Walsh and Mayor Schlegel to the conversation, and we talked about some safety things. We talked about some other ways that the 2 entities can kind of work together to move the borough itself forward, since we both serve the same community. So we're going to meet, I think, again next month, we said? October 7th. Yeah. But I'll have more of a formal update and report later this month. Legislative, Mrs. Stepnick, Board Liaison.
As you could see, maybe that is right, sorry. As you can see, our PSBA leadership elections are up.
it's one person per slot, so it's not like we get to pick. But I will say for, Dr. Walsh and I were talking about this earlier today, how difficult it is to always see that balance of Western Pennsylvania having a representation on the statewide level. So it's exciting to have a leader from North Hills again this year. So we just need to move those forward, if that's okay with everybody, for the end of the month. And we talked briefly about the legislation and what that will look like. We have an advocacy day. We have some virtual stuff and then some in-person stuff the very beginning of October. I think it's like one day in and out of Harrisburg. So there'll be more to come on that as soon as I have the data on the others. I think that's it.
All right, we can actually move that forward. Do we have 5? Okay. All right, equity and inclusion, Ms. Sweatmore, lead board liaison, anything for tonight?
Nothing for tonight, you skip policy.
And now we'll go back to policy. Policy, Mr. Caligiuri, lead board liaison.
Yeah, we actually do. We have on the agenda revised policy 006, which usually pertains to meetings, but it's much larger than that. But basically, the state is requiring some language changes to the full policy. And you'll see, the board members can see that the changes are all in green, so those are state changes. One thing that everybody might really appreciate is that they're requiring more visibility to community comments, especially when it comes to special voting meetings. So they put it in writing. But other than that, these are just language changes that the state requires. Obviously, Ms. Sedlak can answer a little more substantively if anybody has questions.
Essentially, there are 2 actions that require affirmative votes of 2/3 of the full membership of the board, and that is incurring temporary debt and adopting or changing textbooks without the recommendation of the superintendent. And then the 3 new items require the affirmative votes of a majority of the full membership of the board, and those are approving or denying a charter school application, approving or denying multiple charter school organization applications, and establishing joint schools or departments. Those are the significant changes.
Ms. Sedlak, when I saw that, I was by myself cheering very loudly.
I see they had, or the superintendent is required to adopt a book. Is there anything that states that they can't burn books?
Not yet.
Let's not go down that road, Mr. Goldman.
All right.
This is a good start.
Mr. President, I'd like to note that under the regular meetings in policy 006, it notes that they need to be scheduled at least once every 2 months. And I'd like to propose that it read once every 1 month. I believe that we as elected officials were asked to represent the community 12 months out of the year. I understand that there are times we need to consider breaks for the staff and other events, but I believe we can find 1 day a month to hold a meeting. Waiting 60+ days is too long to stay on top of concerns and issues and represent. So I'd like to reconsider the wording and bring it into at least once every 1 month.
All right, so.
Yeah, I mean, that could be up for discussion. As I said before in some emails, there's really not a reason to adjust state policy because that pigeonholes school boards, and the facts and the history, over a long history, is that we actually do that anyways. So I don't believe there's a reason to change the policy, but I do believe that if the board wants to make a year-over-year, commitment to meetings, they can do that as they see fit. But changing the policy recommended and pretty much required by the state, to me, is just not a great business move. But it's up to the rest of the board.
So, Mr. Caligiuri, what you're saying is, the way this is written meets the state minimum requirements as far as what we as a board would meet. However, as a board, we can determine to meet more often, which we do.
Sure, yeah, the board can do, whatever they'd like with regard to meetings, and, you know, if you look at the board schedule on an annual basis, there's always at least one meeting per month. I mean, I think it's July that we have it like as needed, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's, you know, we go above and beyond, so it's like 90% of it, well, it's probably much higher than 90% of the districts across the Commonwealth. So I don't think it's appropriate to adjust a state required policy, but I do think it's appropriate, you know, if you want to make a year-over-year commitment to doing more, I think that's appropriate.
Okay, so I'll ask the question this way. Do we have 5 to make this adjustment and then move it forward?
Well, hold on. What language, what adjustment and what language is my question? Because I understand what Mr. Sokolsky is saying, and I understand how the board historically has functioned. I mean, I was a part of this board where it was like literally every Tuesday, right, for years. So I don't have an issue with saying we as Plum Borough School District are committing to 11 meetings a year or whatever we want. I don't have an issue with that, but we don't have a language proposal to say I just don't know where that fits, Dane. If we were to entertain,
So normally,
we're wanting to do this, but where would the language proposal fit that would be legal and appropriate?
We vote on the yearly board meetings each year.
Right, no, I understand that.
We set those, so that's where you get to, the board gets to make that determination. That's where you set your expectations about meetings.
No, I understand that part. What I'm saying
And we
is,
did change this past year, didn't we?
yeah, we did. So Ms. Stephanie, I think what you're asking, normally when we make a request to have language changed, we move it forward with the understanding that that language will be updated, and then we see it before we vote.
yeah, I would like to know what the language change is before I would say I'm okay with it or I'm not okay with it. I mean, historically, the school district has met consistently. If we want to say that's our commitment to continue meeting consistently, I'm okay with that, because I agree, we're elected to represent people. I think this is more geared toward districts that are very small, that don't have a lot of business to move forward on a regular basis, that you want to tell them you have to at least meet every 60 days to do your business, to move your bills forward, to do whatever. We're too busy of a school district to let that lapse. And I think when we did the agendas or this calendar, I should say, you know, I'm not for throughout the school year only one meeting in any month. July, yeah, I mean, that should be an as needed. Like, we've done that. We did that this year. I mean, we've done that when needed because it moves the timeline of hiring along. But if we want to, as a group, say that, great. I just don't know where it fits in the language and what the language proposal would even look like to say I'm in support or I'm not in support, because I just know historically we've always functioned this way.
Go ahead.
I believe last year before we did the board meeting schedule, you and I talked even numerous times in regards to at least having a meeting. I believe the original schedule had 2 months. It didn't have meetings scheduled in them. And so then we agreed to have at least one meeting each month, one meeting a month. So all I'm proposing is that we at least do meet at least once a month, not once every 60 days. And maybe it's just a difference in interpretation, but I think the ability to hold back for 60 days in writing gives us the ability to take a month and say, well, we're not going to have a meeting this month. And I think we should meet every month, at least once.
Mr. Sokolsky, I think the difference is between policy and procedure in this case. So the policy does actually read once every 2 months, which echoes the school code where it reads the same. And then when we vote on that schedule every year, I don't disagree. I like that we meet monthly, and I think that becomes our procedure. And I think that as a board, we should continue steering the ship in that direction, so to speak. But that's kind of how I see it. I see that this is a policy the state lays down based on their school code, and then we determine our procedure as a board. That's just my take.
Legal wise, is there a difference between policy and procedure? Like, can I get sued for policy and not for procedure?
I think the way you look, you can get sued for both. But to explain it, if you look under, and I think Amy summed it up very well when she said, procedure-wise, maybe meeting every month is a really great procedure, let's do it. It's just the policy, as it reads now, says there will be a meeting at least once every 2 months. So I think Mr. Zukulski's proposition would be you change that to you are obligated to meet every month. You can absolutely do that if you want to as a board. The school code only requires every 2 months. And then to get to your question, Adam, I think the procedure Amy's talking about is we should absolutely meet every month. It's just, do we need to instantiate that in policy?
I just want to add something that whenever we're working on the board calendar, and I think Mr. Sokolsky, what you're saying is already happening for the most part, that we do meet once a month. Even in this current structure, July was optional as needed, and I think we all realized it was needed, and we met. But in July, it is hard to get quorum. There are many people that are on vacations, and I think many districts, it's not unusual to look at the month of July as needed. So to lock this board or future boards to a monthly meeting, I think that's a decision for future boards to make in regards to the calendars that they approve. My personal take, and I'm just telling you from my perspective of sitting over there for the last few years, that ideally we do meet twice a month. But there are some months, and I'll use the example of November. We have elections, we have holidays, and it is a challenge to get 2 meetings in around everybody's calendars, where November, I could see moving forward having a meeting once per month, just like you're asking. I can't imagine that I would ever move forward a recommendation that we meet every other month. As Ms. Stepnick and others have said, there's a lot of business that the community expects us to move forward, and we will continue to move that forward. So I like the idea of the current structure of allowing that flexibility, but knowing we're going to operate in exactly what you're recommending, that we are going to meet. And in the month of July, I like the idea that is optional if needed, because there's times where we have to make decisions about hiring immediately and having that on the schedule. So the current language, I still believe the spirit of what you're saying is embedded in regards to what future boards approve in regards to the calendar.
Our policy does state discussion meetings. All discussion meetings will be held on the second Tuesday of the month unless a majority of the board chooses to reschedule, combine, or cancel the meeting. So it's in our policy already that we plan to meet each month. And then when we put that calendar forward, it, like for July, for example, it does state if needed. And then that's something we discuss and we vote on.
I'm not a fan of the combined meetings. I recognize, for instance, like tonight, those are necessary because we have business and we got to get people in these buildings that need to do their jobs. Overall, though, I'm not, obviously not a fan of it, just because I like to have the community hear the discussion about it, process it, reach out to us if they need to, and then vote on it in 2 weeks.
Okay, do we have 5 that would like to see a language change as Mr. Sokolsky recommended? Okay, do we have 5 to move it forward as is?
Yes.
All right, now equity and inclusion. Ms. Wetmore, Lead Board Liaison. Anything for tonight?
Nothing's popped up.
All right. Community engagement, outreach, and development. Mrs. Stepnick, Lead Board Liaison. Anything for tonight?
A couple things. One, I want to thank Dr. Walsh. He's working very hard at rebuilding those relationships with the Chamber and the Rotary, and it's not going unnoticed. I'm hearing a lot of positive feedback, so I'm excited for those items. One thing that all of you should have gotten in your mailboxes is the Distinguished Alumni Dinner at Oakmont Country Club. I will say it is really cool to meet these alumni and talk to them, and what some of them do give back to the school district. They're not just a picture on the wall. Many of them do produce different things that give back to this district. One year there was a $50,000 or $60,000 donation made from one alumni for a business type of a program he wanted to see implemented here at the high school. If you can attend, I'd recommend that you do. Again, our ROTC are there. We have a great turnout of students, and the board's support to this organization, I think, would be really helpful. Also, I want to make sure I had the wording right. So hold on. I'm going to make sure I got it. The Marching Band Festival, I want to make sure September 19th. If you'd like to see some of our talent in the surrounding school districts, that'll be at the high school field.
All right, thank you. This time I'd like to welcome citizens' comments on non-agenda items.
Is there anybody that would like to comment at this time on non-agenda items? Mr. Devine, back to you.
All right, we have an upcoming public meetings. Action voting meeting on Tuesday, September 26th, 2023, here in the high school library at 7 o'clock. This time I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion and a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion, meeting adjourned.